Hello, folks. Welcome back to Land of Picks, our Big Ten betting show on the Land of 10 Facebook page. My name is Stephen Petrella, joined as always by co-host Christopher Smith, entering Week 12 of the college football regular season. Christopher, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. Ready to shoot our shot for Week 12.
Yeah, not too many shots left in the regular season, just 2 weeks. A little bit of a down week across the country with some SEC teams playing FCS opponents, but we got some good games in the Big Ten, so excited to get going.
Yeah, how did you do in your picks last week?
Terrible. 2-4, and didn't hit that parlay either. Wisconsin held Iowa to 66 yards, which obviously didn't bode well for Iowa plus 12, but should have boded well for the under. But those 2 pick sixes pushed it over. Looking to bounce back this week.
Yep. All right, moving on then.
Yeah. In and out quick. Let's take a week at the lines in the Big Ten this week. Like I said, a couple good games. Wisconsin-Michigan's the highlighter at Wisconsin minus 7.5. They're looking to keep their college football playoff hopes alive. Penn State, a big favorite over Nebraska. And Ohio State, man, 41-point favorite over Illinois. They've killed bad teams all year. And then a couple games where I think the numbers would tell you they should be closer to 3 or 4, but they're up at 7.5, which I think is interesting. Those two are Northwestern minus 7.5 and Iowa minus 7.5.
Yeah, boy, that 26.5-point line, Penn State over Nebraska, is not exactly the greatest advertisement for Scott Frost.
Yeah,
if Florida still hasn't hired a coach, he may be in play there. If you're Scott Frost and you're trying to think, well, where could I win next year, that doesn't look great.
No, and the talent on that roster there, it's not tremendous right now. They've recruited pretty well under the 2017 and 2018 cycles under Mike Riley, but yeah.
You know what does look great?
What's that?
MyBookie.ag.
That's very true.
And especially if you use a certain promo code.
Yep, if you use the promo code LAND10 at mybookie.ag, we'll match your deposit 100%. We've been doing it all year. We both use mybookie.ag, the best sportsbook to bet at, between the lines, the ease of use, everything. Don't just take our word for it either.
If you need money for basketball season, the Super Bowl, whatever, go ahead and get in now. Get some money going with our picks.
Yeah, and, great thing about sports betting is it never stops.
That's right.
Except the night of the ESPYs.
That's true. Speaking of sports betting, we take a look at the Purdue-Iowa game this week. Purdue still stuck on 4 wins. Doesn't look like they're going to get to a bowl. Will that have any bearing, their motivation in trying to win this game?
I don't think so. I mean, this is kind of a weird spot for Iowa because you'd expect a bounce back after getting thoroughly dominated minus the 2 pick sixes against Wisconsin, but sort of a weird sleepy spot, 7.5-point favorite home against Purdue. We've been saying for the last 2 months, these Purdue unders have been great, but the books and bettors have finally caught up. This total around 41, 40.5. Purdue hasn't had a total under 48 in the last 5 weeks. Kind of a perception thing, I think. Their offense has been perceived better than their defense, but the defense is really the unit that's much further along under Jeff Brom. So I wouldn't advise a play on the under at 40.5, but I am going to take Purdue at 7.5 in this game. I don't think Iowa has a ton of motivation, it's not a traditional bounce back spot. They massacre Ohio State, get massacred by Wisconsin, and then they're just sort of sitting here in this game. Purdue has lost 4 of its last 5, which obviously is never a good thing, but those are by 8 points, 2 points, 1 point, and 10 points. I think Purdue's defense can do enough in this game against Iowa to keep it close and cover the 7.5.
All right, back to the Penn State-Nebraska game. Can the fighting Mike Rileys do anything to put up any sort of fight here and avoid further embarrassment?
Yeah, Penn State actually hasn't beaten Nebraska since they came into the Big Ten. A couple close calls, but this is a game they should win. They're a 26.5-point favorite. That number is awfully high. I don't feel comfortable betting on a number that high, especially when it's creeped up from 23 to 26.5, 27. But I am looking at the over in this game. I think this is going to be Saquon Barkley's last game at Beaver Stadium. And I think Penn State kind of unleashes him, or he unleashes himself. He's had a real tough time in the last 6 weeks or so, is kind of behind a bad offensive line, and team stack in the box has been sort of knocked out of the Heisman race. But Nebraska's run defense is so bad. They're giving up, 6.6 yards per carry in their last 3 games. That's tied for the worst in the country. Minnesota ran all over them. Purdue ran all over them. I just don't see a scenario in which Barkley gets held in check Saturday. And I think that Penn State scores, between 35 and 45, and Nebraska puts a couple touchdowns on the board. It's a high number at 54.5, 55, but I'm going to play the over in this game at that number.
All right, now we're going to the game that most of the rest of the country will be paying the most attention to, and that's Michigan-Wisconsin. I believe this line started around 10 and maybe down to about 7 now in favor of Wisconsin. One stat for you guys, undefeated teams in the college football playoff era in November and December are 22, 42, and 2 against the spread. Is Wisconsin going to be able to uphold its unbeaten season here?
Yeah, I mean, when the pressure's on, it seems like these teams flounder or at least don't cover. And the mark of a great team.
That's right. Great teams cover.
Great teams cover. I do like Michigan in this one. It's weird. This line, the game and the line very strongly mirrors when Michigan got blown out by Penn State. Michigan on the road against an undefeated top 5 team. Line opened at like 10.5, 10, has moved down to 7.5, 8, and we know what happened in that one. Of course, Penn State dominated that game. But I think this Michigan team is better than it was a month ago, better than it was 6 weeks ago.
So they don't have a corner at quarterback.
They don't have a corner quarterback. The thing that scares me is Brandon Peters has looked a lot better. I put that in quotes than John O'Corn, and he certainly has, but he hasn't been asked to do much. He's thrown an average of 15 passes a game over the last 3 games, averaged less than 150 yards passing, and that's not a knock on him. It's just he hasn't needed to do anything because they've run the ball so well. 6.9 yards per carry over the last 3 weeks, second best mark in the country over that time frame, behind only Alabama. So this is the test for Brandon Peters. Is this the guy they can rely on next year? Is this a guy that's going to be their quarterback? He'll be their quarterback for the rest of the season, but is he the guy of the future? I think this is a great test against a Wisconsin defense that is so stingy. Number 1 in the country by a lot of advanced metrics, and I know they haven't really played anybody, but they're so physical. They stop the run. Their secondary is unbelievable. But I think Michigan can keep Alex Hornibrook in check a little bit. Bill Connolly, one of our favorite writers to read over at SB Nation, had a good look at this game and described the ways to beat Wisconsin's defense. And the way you do that is you force Hornibrook into turnovers. So he's averaging 8.1 yards per attempt, one of the best marks in the Big Ten. That's an excellent number by any standard. But he's prone to turnovers. He turns the ball over a lot. 2 pick sixes last week against Iowa. So I think Michigan forces Hornibrook into enough turnovers, enough sacks to put 14 points on the board, and I think Michigan holds Wisconsin to somewhere between 14 and 24, and I think that's enough for them to stay inside the 7.5. And the total seems like a great game to play the under, but it's gone all the way down to 38, which is a pretty crazy.
Especially when you just mentioned there's a potential for either team to score on defense, and then the 38 becomes easy.
Yeah, I would be surprised if there wasn't some kind of, maybe not a defensive score, but a defensive play that gets, that sets the offense up inside the 15 or for all we know, a score.
All right, well, let's go to the favorite part for you guys, the favorite part of our show every week, and that's the wonderful dogs that we have making picks. And one of them is, what is his record? Do you know?
He's 8-3 against the spread this season.
There's a dog that's 8-3 against the spread this season.
And that's it, picking biggest games of the week.
That's right.
He's not afraid. He's not betting Rutgers at Indiana. He's not betting Purdue, Iowa. Biggest games of the week always comes through. Let's see what they got this week. All right, 2 dogs again.
Agreement.
Michigan again. I think they both had Michigan when they played Penn State, but they had Michigan against Florida too. At least
between you and both dogs, that's 3 for 3 on Michigan. So you guys know what to do at MyBookie.
Scares me a little bit. So let's take a look at the full list of picks I got for the week. Again, mybookie.ag. Get there, get money down. 3 games I mentioned: the 2 dogs, the over. And then Rutgers plus 11 at Indiana. Like I said, this Rutgers team is a lot better. They can run the ball and they can stop the run. like the under a little bit in that game, 49, but it's come down some, and Indiana plays at a fast pace. So I think Rutgers keeps that game within 11.
Sounds great to me.
Yeah, hopefully for a little better fortune this week. I don't want to say luck because luck doesn't always have everything to do with it. You got to do your homework, got to look into these games, dig deep into the box scores, and really come up with the best picks possible.
Yeah, we're due. We're due.
Big week here. Well, folks, for Steve Petrella, Christopher Smith, thanks for joining us as always. Remember, run, don't walk to mybookie.ag. They will match your deposit 100% with the promo code LAND of 10. Thanks for joining us, folks.